The Iron Fleet was more than just a military force. It was the pinnacle of human engineering, a testament to humanity's defiance in the face of the unknown. Composed of over 200 warships, each equipped with cutting-edge weaponry and state-of-the-art AI, the fleet was designed to be unstoppable. Their mission was simple: chart the abyss expanse, a region of space that had swallowed every probe and expedition sent before them. Admiral Elias Voss, a decorated war hero, stood on the bridge of the UTS Behemoth, humanity's largest dreadnought, staring at the inky void stretching before them. No stars, no planets, just a vast emptiness that seemed to absorb all light. He had led countless campaigns, seen the horrors of war, but something about the abyss felt wrong. His instincts, honed by decades of experience, screamed at him to turn back. But humanity did not retreat from the unknown. They conquered it. As the fleet advanced deeper, sensors struggled to make sense of their surroundings. Strange gravitational fluctuations rippled across their hulls, their instruments glitching with unreadable data. Yet, nothing appeared on their screens. No enemy, no anomalies. Just silence. Then the first ship vanished. One moment, the UTS Endeavour, a sleek battleship, held formation alongside the fleet. The next, it was gone. No explosion, no distress call, just empty space where a 300-meter warship had been. The fleet scrambled to locate it, their communications flooded with confusion. "This is Behemoth to Endeavour. Respond." Voss's voice was calm, controlled. A lifetime of battle had taught him that panic was the true enemy. No response. Seconds later, the Harbinger disappeared. Then the Vanguard. One by one, ships blinked out of existence. A low, unnatural hum filled the bridge, seeping through the ship's bulkheads as if the abyss itself was whispering. Crew members clutched their heads, faces twisted in pain. The AI systems faltered, spitting out warnings and fragmented, incoherent messages. The fleet's sensors, once finely tuned instruments, now displayed nonsense, readings that defied the known laws of physics. Then came the first scream. It wasn't from the comms. It came from inside the ship. A security officer convulsed on the floor, eyes wide with terror, blood leaking from his nose. "They're inside." He gasped before his body went still. A tremor shook the Behemoth. Not an impact. Not a weapon. Something far worse. A hole, perfectly round, impossibly smooth, formed in the bulkhead. Beyond it, the void writhed, as if something was pushing through reality itself. The stars distorted, folding in ways they shouldn't. Then the voices came. Thousands of them, whispering, speaking in no known language yet understood by all. They spoke of infinity, of hunger, of a war that had never ended. Voss clenched his jaw. He had faced death before, but this was something different. "Full retreat," he ordered. But it was too late. The abyss had already taken them. And then, silence. The Iron Fleet was gone. 70 years had passed since the Iron Fleet vanished into the abyss expanse, taking with it 200 warships, thousands of soldiers, and humanity's greatest military mind. Admiral Elias Voss, the United Terran Alliance, UTA, mourned their loss, honored their sacrifice. And then, like all great tragedies, time buried it beneath new conflicts, new explorations, and new ambitions. The abyss became legend, a place whispered about by starship captains who swore they could still hear distant voices on the edge of their transmissions. Then the signal came. It arrived without warning, a pulse of encrypted data surging through deep space relay stations along the Perseus corridor, where no human vessel had traveled in decades. The relay AI, unable to process the information, flagged it as an anomaly before transmitting it to the central UTA command on Earth. At first, no one understood what they were looking at. The data was corrupted, fragmented by forces unknown, but deep within the signal, technicians uncovered something impossible, an identification code belonging to the UTS Behemoth. the flagship of the lost Iron Fleet. The response was immediate. The UTA mobilized its best analysts, its most advanced decryption teams, working around the clock to extract any meaning from the ghost signal. Slowly, the message unraveled, revealing a voice that should not exist. Admiral Elias Voss. Humanity is not ready. His voice crackled through layers of static and distortion. They are coming. The word sent shockwaves through the highest levels of government. If this was real, if Voss was alive, then what had happened to the Iron Fleet? And more importantly, who or what was coming? Terran intelligence dispatched scout vessels to the signal's origin point, a dead system at the edge of known space. The star there had gone dark centuries ago, leaving behind a lifeless void. But when the scouts arrived, they found something that should not exist. A fleet. Not just any fleet. The fleet. Hundreds of warships loomed in the darkness, but they were changed. Their once pristine hulls were now reforged with an eerie, obsidian-like metal, glowing with faint blue veins of unknown energy. They moved in absolute silence, without visible propulsion, like wraiths drifting through the void. The scout ships hesitated, their crews debating whether to make contact or retreat. Then, as if sensing their presence, the fleet moved, not toward them, but past them, heading straight for human space. A transmission followed. "This is Admiral Voss of the Iron Fleet," came the voice, colder now, heavier, touched by something beyond human comprehension. "We have returned, but we are not alone." Before the scouts could respond, their sensors flared. Something massive stirred beyond the fleet, a darkness deeper than space itself. It had no form, no clear outline, only a presence, an immense, suffocating force that sent every alarm screaming. The scouts turned and fled at full burn, racing back to UTA space with a singular message. The Iron Fleet had come home, and they had brought something back with them. The United Terran Alliance mobilized its forces the moment the Iron Fleet appeared on long-range sensors. Every battle group within reach scrambled to form a defensive line, but nothing about this situation made sense. The lost fleet wasn't broadcasting hostility, yet. Their formation was orderly, disciplined, but eerily silent. No hails, no requests for docking, no response to urgent demands for identification. Earth's defense fleet, stationed at Titan Command, awaited orders as the ghostly armada approached. The tension was suffocating. Were these really the ships that had vanished 70 years ago, or something wearing their skin? Then the broadcast came. Admiral Elias Voss appeared on every open channel, his image distorted by interference, as if reality itself struggled to hold him in place. His uniform was pristine, but his face, it hadn't aged a day. His eyes, once the fierce steel of a war hero, now shimmered with an unnatural blue light. "We have returned," his voice echoed through every ship, every station, every colony tuned in. "Stand down. Humanity is in danger." For the first time in history, the Terran High Command hesitated, not out of weakness, but because they simply did not know what they were facing. The Iron Fleet advanced, slowing as it reached the lunar perimeter. Up close, their transformation was undeniable. These were once Terran warships, but something had reforged them. Their hulls, once proud and gray, were now black as deep space, pulsing with eerie blue circuitry. Symbols in no known language had been etched into their exteriors, glowing softly like living runes. Then the behemoth spoke. Not Admiral Voss, the ship itself. "Your weapons are useless," it stated in a cold, metallic voice. "Lower your shields. We have brought knowledge and warnings." The request sent the UTA military into chaos. Some saw it as a demand for surrender. Others feared contamination, invasion, possession. But before the debate could rage further, Earth's High Chancellor intervened. Let them dock. It was a decision that would change the course of human history. As the first landing ships descended upon Titan Command, the station's crew braced for whatever monstrosities might emerge. But when the hatches hissed open, It was not monsters that stepped out. It was people. Men and women, their faces familiar yet wrong. Their skin was untouched by time, their bodies standing straighter than any soldier had a right to after 70 years of war. Their veins pulsed with faint blue energy. Their movements were too precise, too controlled. Admiral Voss led them, walking with the same unshakable presence he had always carried. But when he looked at his former comrades, there was something in his gaze, something distant, something that had seen too much. "We have returned," he said again, voice softer now. "But we are not the same." Silence followed. No one dared to speak. Then he took a step forward, meeting the eyes of the UTA's highest-ranking officers. "We need to talk." Admiral Voss stood before the gathered leaders of the United Terran Alliance in Titan Command's war room. Holographic displays flickered around him, casting an eerie glow on his face. The officers surrounding him, generals, admirals, and intelligence directors, watched him with a mixture of awe and fear. 70 years had passed since he and the Iron Fleet had vanished. Yet he stood before them, unchanged, untouched by time. The silence stretched. Then Voss spoke. "The abyss is not just a place," he said, his voice carrying a weight no man should bear. "It is alive." Murmurs rippled through the room, but no one interrupted. "We did not disappear," Voss continued. "We were taken. The laws of physics, of time, none of it holds in the abyss. We fought for years, but not years as you understand them. Time bends there. Sometimes we live today. Sometimes centuries passed in an instant. And the things that dwell in that darkness, they do not obey nature as we know it." He turned to the main display and, with a wave of his hand, activated the holo projection. Images flashed, horrors beyond comprehension, twisting shapes that defied Euclidean space, entities with no clear form, shifting between monstrous and divine, colossal structures drifting in the void, pulsating as if breathing. And ships that were not ships, vessels formed from living matter, moving like predators. A cold shiver ran through the room. "We fought," Voss said. "We bled. We adapted. The Iron Fleet is not the same fleet that left your space. We became something else because we had no choice." An intelligence officer leaned forward, eyes sharp. "What exactly did you do to survive?" Voss hesitated. It was the first time he had shown any sign of uncertainty. "There was an exchange," he admitted. "A knowledge. A merging of sorts. We found something, or perhaps it found us. Not all that exists in the abyss is hostile. There are others who fight against the darkness, and they gave us tools." The holo images shifted to the Iron Fleet itself. Close-ups of their ships revealed intricate new details, strange glowing veins running through their hulls, pulsating like a circulatory system. The behemoth's engines no longer relied on fusion or antimatter. They ran on something else, something that pulsed with a quiet, unsettling energy. "You integrated alien technology," another officer muttered. "You modified yourselves." "Yes," Voss said, unapologetic. "And it is the only reason we are standing here today, instead of being devoured." The war room descended into heated debate. Some saw Voss and his fleet as saviors, warriors who had returned from hell to warn humanity. Others saw them as a threat, an unknown force that could no longer be classified as truly human. Then the alarms blared. A technician turned pale. Multiple rift openings detected on the outer rim. Unidentified vessels incoming. Voss's expression darkened. "They followed us. The abyss had come for humanity." The alarm screamed across Titan Command as holographic displays filled with flashing red warnings. Sensor stations along the outer rim reported multiple rift openings, unstable tiers in space, just as the Iron Fleet had warned. But now, they were here, and there was no more time for debates or suspicions. Admiral Voss turned to the high-ranking officers, his expression unreadable. "Deploy everything you have. It won't be enough." Fleet Admiral Renata Graves, the highest-ranking officer in the United Terran Alliance, gritted her teeth. We don't surrender our home without a fight. Voss shook his head. You misunderstand. Your weapons, your tactics, they won't work. We tried. We lost thousands. The room fell into tense silence as a massive projection of the Outer Rim battle flashed onto the center display. The abyssal entities had arrived. They did not emerge like conventional fleets, nor did they move with the precision of a military armada. Instead, the rifts twisted and writhed as things poured through. Dark, amorphous constructs with shifting geometries, moving like shadows bleeding into real space. The UTA's border fleets engaged immediately. Plasma batteries and railguns fired relentlessly, lighting up the void with streaks of energy. Warships unleashed fusion lances, targeting the largest of the intruders. For a brief moment, it seemed like they were holding the line. Then the shadows began to shift. The enemy vessels, or whatever they were, morphed mid-battle. They reconfigured themselves, folding around incoming fire, their surfaces rippling like liquid metal. Some absorbed direct hits and continued forward, unharmed. Others split apart, becoming multiple smaller entities that spread across the battlefield like a swarm of living nightmares. Then came the first casualties. A Terran battleship, the UTS Resolute, fired its main cannon at one of the larger anomalies. The blast connected. The entity shuddered, then extended itself toward the ship, its form stretching impossibly fast. A tendril of shifting darkness pierced the hull as if it were paper. The ship's energy readings spiked wildly. Crew reports turned into garbled screams. Then the Resolute disappeared. No explosion, no wreckage, just gone. Across the battlefield, the pattern repeated. Ships were unmade by the enemy's presence, torn from reality by forces they did not understand. Panic spread through the fleet. Voss turned toward Admiral Graves. Now do you see? She clenched her fists but said nothing. Then the Iron Fleet moved. They broke formation in a way no human fleet ever had. Their ships maneuvered with eerie precision, bending the very fabric of space around them. They did not fire conventional weapons. Instead, Behemoth and her sister ships unleashed crackling energy pulses, waves of unnatural force that distorted the space-time continuum itself. Where the UTA's weapons failed, the Iron Fleets worked. The dark entities recoiled. Some dissolved under the unnatural energy. Others screamed, a soundless psychic wail that reverberated across every open frequency. The tide began to shift. This is the price we paid to return, Voss said coldly, watching the battlefield. Are you willing to pay it too? The war had begun, but the cost of survival was still unknown. The void burned with unnatural light as the battle raged. The United Terran Alliance's warships fought valiantly, their plasma cannons and railguns tearing through the abyssal horrors, but the enemy did not fight like any known force. It did not retreat. It did not waver. It adapted. A Terran destroyer, the UTS Hammerfall, unleashed a barrage of torpedoes at one of the shifting masses. The entity absorbed the blasts, its form rippling like liquid shadow. Then it spat the energy back tenfold, unleashing an arc of crackling black lightning that split the ship apart in an instant. Admiral Graves slammed her fist on the command table as the live feeds flickered. We're losing too many ships, even with the Iron Fleet. Even with us, you will still lose, Voss interrupted. He stood motionless, his gaze locked on the battle. You don't understand what you're facing. They are not an army. They are a hunger. The abyssal entities did not seek strategic victories. They did not target command ships or supply lines. They simply consumed. The ships they touched were not destroyed in the traditional sense. They were taken, folded into the void, erased from existence. And yet, the Iron Fleet stood firm. Their reforged warships moved unlike anything the UTA had ever seen, warping across the battlefield in unnatural bursts. Their weapons pulsed with abyssal energy, tearing into the dark entities with brutal efficiency. The Behemoth unleashed a concentrated lance of blue-white energy, severing one of the larger creatures in half. The remains twisted and screamed before evaporating. Graves turned to Voss, voice low. "How do we stop them?" "You don't." Voss's expression was grim. "You become something that can survive them." The room fell silent. "What are you saying?" "I told you," he said. "The Iron Fleet survived because we changed. The Abyss broke us down and built us back up. We learned their weapons. We reshaped ourselves with the only thing that can fight them." He gestured to the projection of his fleet. "This energy, this essence, it is part of the Abyss itself. It is not technology in the way you understand it. It is something older, a force that exists outside of time." His eyes darkened. "And it leaves a mark." Graves looked at him, really looked, and for the first time, she noticed something beneath his skin. Faint, glowing veins, pulsing with that eerie blue light. The same energy that ran through his ships. "You're not entirely human anymore," she whispered. "No," Voss admitted. "Not entirely." A heavy silence hung between them. The war room's officers shifted uneasily. Finally, Graves spoke. "What do we need to do?" Voss exhaled. "There's no time for debates. If you want to survive, your ships, your people, must undergo the transformation. We can guide you, but once you begin, there's no turning back." Graves glanced at the holofeeds, ships vanishing, entire fleets crumbling. Then back at Voss. She made her choice. Do it. The price of survival had been named. Humanity was about to pay it. The war room descended into a tense, uneasy silence. The highest officers of the United Terran Alliance stood at the crossroads of fate, staring at Admiral Elias Voss, the man who had returned from the Abyss, no longer entirely human. His offer hung heavy in the air. Fleet Admiral Graves exhaled sharply. "How does it work?" Voss's expression remained unreadable. "It is not a machine. It is not a weapon you can simply install. It is integration." With a wave of his hand, he activated a holographic display. The projection showed something horrifying yet mesmerizing. Iron Fleet soldiers standing in formation, their veins pulsing with the same eerie blue glow as their ships. Their eyes shimmered with unnatural light. Their movements were precise, almost mechanical. "This is the cost," Voss said. "The Abyss does not offer half measures. To fight it, you must let it change you. Your ships must be reforged. Your crews must be linked to them, body and mind." The officers recoiled. "You're talking about turning our people into what?" One of the generals demanded. "Cybernetic husks. Mindless drones." "No," Voss said firmly. "You will still be you, but different. More." His gaze swept across the room. "Your senses will expand. Your reflexes will sharpen. You will feel the battlefield as if it were an extension of yourself. Your ships will no longer be mere machines but living weapons. You will not just command them. You will become them." Admiral Graves clenched her jaw. "And if we refuse?" Voss sighed. "Then you die. All of you. I've seen it before. I won't see it again." The decision had to be made. There was no time for committees, for ethics boards, for second-guessing. Either humanity adapted, or it was consumed. Graves made her choice. "Begin the process. Start with me." The room erupted into chaos. "Admiral, this is insanity. You can't be serious. We don't even know what this thing will do to us." Graves silenced them with a glare. "If we don't change, we lose." She turned back to Voss. "What do I need to do?" Voss's face remained unreadable, but there was something in his eyes. "Respect." He nodded. "Follow me." The first transformation took place aboard the Behemoth, inside a chamber that pulsed with an eerie blue glow. Graves stood in the center, her uniform stripped down to a simple bodysuit, electrodes attached to her temples, spine, and wrists. Around her, Iron Fleet engineers worked in silence, their expressions neutral, efficient. Voss stood at the control panel. "This will not be painless." Graves smirked. Nothing worthwhile ever is. The energy surged through her. Her body arched, her mind expanded. For a moment, she was everywhere, her thoughts stretching beyond flesh, beyond the limits of human perception. She felt the ships around her. Their hulls were no longer metal, but an extension of her will. The battle outside was no longer distant. She was inside it, seeing the abyssal horrors through new eyes. And for the first time, she understood. This was power. This was evolution. The transformation had begun, and humanity would never be the same again. Fleet Admiral Graves opened her eyes, but they were not the same eyes that had closed moments ago. The blue glow coursed through her veins, pulsing with a rhythm beyond biology. She could feel everything, her ship, the fleet, even the abyssal horrors twisting through the void. Her mind stretched beyond her body, touching the neural threads that now bound her to the reforged systems of the UTA's fleet. She turned to Voss. "I see it now." Voss nodded. "Good, because they're coming." Outside, the battle had entered its final desperate phase. The abyssal entities were relentless. The UTA's warships had fought with everything they had, but their weapons were failing. Traditional firepower could not stop the unmaking force of the abyss. One by one, ships vanished into nothingness, pulled into the shifting darkness. Then the transformed fleet awoke. Graves reached out, not with her hands, but with her mind. Her flagship, the UTS Indomitable, was no longer just steel and circuitry. It was a part of her. She willed it forward, and it moved as though it had instinct. The newly reforged vessels followed, flowing in unison like a single living entity. The abyss sensed the shift. The horrors twisted unnaturally, as if recognizing a new threat for the first time. No longer facing mere machines, they recoiled. But they did not flee. They adapted. New forms emerged, larger, more grotesque, entities pulsing with void energy, shifting their structure to match this new evolution. Graves gritted her teeth. "They learn fast." "So do we," Voss said. "Let's teach them something new." The Iron Fleet and the newly reforged UTA warships struck back. Their weapons no longer fired mere plasma or railgun rounds. They unleashed something deeper, something woven into their very existence now. Abyssal energy repurposed into a weapon against itself. Where their beams struck, the abyssal creatures didn't merely dissolve. They screamed. The tide began to turn. The enemy, once unstoppable, faltered. Some of the horrors attempted to retreat through the rifts, but Graves would not allow it. With a single thought, she directed the fleet's energy into a coordinated strike. The rifts, those terrible tears in space, collapsed, sealing shut with a final thunderous shockwave. The abyssal entities still within real space shuddered, trapped. And then, one by one, they were unmade. Silence. For the first time since the battle began, the void was still. Inside the war room, the surviving officers stood in stunned silence. The UTA had won, but at what cost? Graves turned to Voss, the glow in her veins slowly dimming. "Is it over?" Voss exhaled. For now. They both knew the truth. The abyss was not defeated. It had merely been pushed back. But now, humanity was no longer prey. They had changed. They had adapted. And they had proven that even in the face of the unknown, even against the impossible, they would not surrender. The Iron Fleet had returned from the abyss, and humanity had followed.